Good morning children, I am Dr. Ansina. Today we will discuss occipital bone. This is the occipital bone. Occipital bone occupies the posterior part of the skull and plays major role in the formation of posterior cranial fossa. Okay. The largest foramen of the skull, that is the foramen magnum, is situated in the occipital bone. And now the components of the occipital bone. Okay, it consists of one basilar part. This is the basilar part, which is above and in front of foramen magnum. Two lateral parts, lateral to the foramen magnum, and one squamous part above and behind the foramen magnum. Now regarding the anatomical position of this occipital bone, you have to place the foramen magnum in a horizontal plane, and this basilar part should project upwards and forwards, should come upwards and forwards, this basilar part. So this is the foramen magnum. Okay, so it is located in the floor of the posterior cranial fossa. It provides a communication between posterior cranial fossa and vertebral canal. Its margin provides attachment to following structures. Okay, this is the anterior margin, this is the posterior margin, these are the lateral margin. So to the anterior margin, you have the attachment of the anterior atlanto-occipital membrane. To the posterior margin, you have the attachment of the posterior atlanto-occipital membrane. To the lateral margin, you have the attachment of the alar ligament. And this alar ligament is going to divide this foramen magnum into a anterior part, a smaller anterior part, and a larger posterior part. Okay, and now regarding the structures which are passing through the anterior part. Okay, so the structures which are passing through the anterior part are apical ligament of dens, superior longitudinal band of cruciform ligament, membrana tectoria. And what are the structures passing through the posterior part? They are the medulla oblongata, meninges, spinal roots of accessory nerves, meningeal branches of upper cervical nerves, C1 to C3, vertebral arteries, sympathetic plexus around vertebral arteries, and anterior and posterior spinal arteries. Now we will discuss the basilar part. Okay, this basilar part extends from the anterior margin of the foramen magnum to the body of the sphenoid. Here you will be having the body of the sphenoid bone. Okay, this is another bone. Okay, you can now here you can see that this basilar part extends upwards and forwards to meet the body of the sphenoid. Okay, this is the body of the sphenoid. Before 25 years of age, a growth cartilage intervenes between sphenoid and basilar part of the occipital bone. But after this period, the two bones fuse. Now the basilar part has got two surfaces and two lateral margins. This is the superior surface and this is the inferior surface of the basilar part. And there are two lateral margins. This is one lateral margin, this is another lateral margin. This is the superior surface of the basilar part, this is the inferior surface of the basilar part, and these are the lateral margins. So regarding the superior surface, okay, superior surface, it is sloping, it is smooth, it forms clivus with the body of the sphenoid. Okay, this forms clivus with the body of the sphenoid. This part is known as clivus. Okay, this part is related to pons and medulla oblongata. Its lower part receives attachment of following structures from above downwards. They are the membrana tectoria, superior longitudinal band of cruciform ligament, and the apical ligament of dens. Now regarding the inferior surface of the basilar part. Okay, now I am going to show the inferior aspect of the basilar part. Okay, this is the inferior surface of the basilar part. Its middle is marked by a tubercle called pharyngeal tubercle. This is the pharyngeal tubercle. Okay. And anterolateral, anterior and lateral to the pharyngeal tubercle is the area for attachment of longus capitis. This area, okay, this area provides attachment to longus capitis muscle. Posterolateral, okay, posterolateral to the pharyngeal tubercle, okay, you have the attachment of the rectus capitis anterior. Okay, here you are having the attachment of rectus capitis anterior. Now regarding the lateral margin of the basilar part, these are rough and articulate with petrous part of the temporal bone. Okay, here you can see that these lateral margins, okay, lateral margins, okay, articulate with the petrous part of the temporal bone. This is the petrous part of the temporal bone. Now regarding the lateral parts of the occipital bone, okay, here you are having the right and the left lateral parts. Each can be divided into broader medial portion, okay, broader medial portion and narrower lateral portion, okay, that is the jugular process, okay, narrower lateral portion. This is the inferior aspect of the occipital bone, showing the medial larger portion and narrower lateral portion. These lateral parts, okay, these lateral parts are situated along anterior half of the foramen magnum, as you can see here, okay. Now the medial portion has got an inferior surface, okay, medial aspect, okay, and superior surface. Now regarding the inferior surface of the medial portion, okay, so it is marked by an articular occipital condyle. These are the occipital condyle, okay, and this articular surface is oval and convex to articulate the concave superior articular process of atlas and thereby forming atlando-occipital joint. Occipital condyle, as you can see here, is located lateral to anterior half of foramen magnum. Behind the condyle is a condylar fossa which may have condylar canal for emissary vein from sigmoid sinus. Okay, it transmits emissary vein. Lateral to, this thing. Lateral to anterior part of condyle is the outer opening of the hypoglossal canal. Okay, outer opening. This is the outer opening of the hypoglossal canal. This hypoglossal canal allows passage of hypoglossal nerve. Now regarding the medial aspect of the lateral part, medial aspect of the medial portion. Okay, so it has got a tubercle. Okay, it has got a tubercle and a foramen. Okay, it has got a tubercle and a foramen. Okay, the tubercle is situated on the medial aspect of the condyle and provides attachment to alar ligament. Okay, this provides attachment to alar ligament. The foramen located just above this tubercle forms the inner opening of the hypoglossal canal. So this is the inner opening of the hypoglossal canal, and following structures pass through the hypoglossal canal. What are they? As I already told, the hypoglossal nerve is actually getting transmitted through the hypoglossal canal. Apart from that, you have the meningeal branch of ascending pharyngeal artery. Okay, so this is the outer opening of the hypoglossal canal. I have put a probe here, so it is reaching the inner opening of the hypoglossal canal here. Okay, now regarding the superior surface of medial portion, this is the superior surface of medial portion. Okay, and it is marked by an oval eminence called jugular tubercle. This jugular tubercle overlies the hypoglossal canal. So this is the inner aspect of the inner opening of the hypoglossal canal, and this is the jugular tubercle. The posterior part of the jugular tubercle, this is the posterior part. Posterior part of the jugular tubercle often presents a shallow groove for 9th, 10th and 11th cranial nerves. Now regarding the narrow lateral portion, okay, narrow lateral portion is otherwise known as jugular process, okay. Regarding the jugular process, its lateral end presents a rough area which joins with the jugular surface of temporal bone by a growth cartilage. This cartilage ossifies at the age of 25 years. Okay, its anterior margin, the jugular process's anterior margin is notched and completes the jugular foramen with similar notch on the posterior border of vitreous part of temporal bone. Okay, so its anterior margin, okay, anterior margin is notched and completes the jugular foramen with similar notch on the posterior border of vitreous part of temporal bone. This is the vitreous part of the temporal bone. This is the jugular foramen, okay. Now the jugular surface, superior surface, this is the superior surface of the jugular process. It is marked by a deep groove. This is a deep groove which lodges terminal part of sigmoid sinus. And its inferior surface, okay, inferior surface, this is the inferior surface of the jugular process. It provides attachment to rectus capitis lateralis. Now regarding the squamous part of the occipital bone, okay, it has got two surfaces, external and internal, okay, three angles which are there, one superior, two lateral angles, this is one lateral angle, this is another lateral angle, okay, and four borders, two lambdoid borders and two mastoid borders, okay. Supralaterally, okay, supralateral border is the lambdoid border, infralateral border is the mastoid border. So this is the superior angle, these are the lateral angles, and you have four borders, these are the lambdoid border, okay, these are the mastoid border. So regarding the superior angle, this superior angle is the meeting point of sagittal and lambdoid suture. Okay, it is also termed as lambda. This is the site of posterior fontanelle of fetal skull. Okay, so here I will show this. Okay, this is the superior angle of the occipital bone and it reaches the lambda. Okay, this one. Okay, so this is the meeting point of sagittal and lambdoid suture. This is the lambdoid suture, this is the sagittal suture. And regarding the lateral angles, okay, this is one lateral angle, this is another lateral angle. Okay, lateral angle on each side meets with the mastoid part of corresponding temporal bone to form asterion. Okay, so I will show you this here. Okay, so this is the lateral angle on, okay, this lateral angle on each side meets with the mastoid part of the corresponding temporal bone to form asterion. Okay. Regarding the borders, okay, this is the lambdoid border and this is the mastoid border. Okay, so this lambdoid border extends from superior angle to the lateral angle, and this border articulates with posterior margin of corresponding parietal bone to form lambdoid suture. Okay, this is another bone. Okay, this is the occipital bone, these are the parietal bone, this is the superior angle. Okay, here you have the lambda. Okay, this is the sagittal suture, these are the lambdoid suture. So the lambdoid border articulates with, this is the lambdoid border, it will articulate with the corresponding parietal bone to form lambdoid suture. This is the lambdoid suture. Now regarding the mastoid border. This is the mastoid border extending from lateral angle to the jugular process. This is the mastoid border. This will articulate with mastoid part of the corresponding temporal bone. Okay, here you can see that, okay, this is the mastoid border. This will articulate with corresponding mastoid part of the temporal bone. Okay, now regarding the external surface of occipital bone. Okay, so the middle of the external, middle of the external surface is marked by a projection called external occipital protuberance. Two lines extend laterally on each side from the external occipital protuberance. Okay, these are first line. Next is the, these are other lines. Okay, two lines extending laterally on each side from external occipital protuberance. Okay, this is the highest nuchal line and these are the superior nuchal line. Well defined line is the superior nuchal line. Similarly on this bone, this is the external occipital protuberance. Okay, this is the highest nuchal line. Okay, highest nuchal line, faint line. Okay, highest nuchal line, and this is the well defined line. These are the well defined line, that is the superior nuchal line. Okay, so these are the highest nuchal line and this provides attachment to epicranial aponeurosis and occipital belly of occipito frontalis. Okay, medially you have the attachment of the epicranial aponeurosis and laterally you have the attachment of the occipital belly of occipito frontalis. Okay, and this is the superior nuchal line. Okay, this well defined line is the superior nuchal line, and here you have the attachment of trapezius medially. Okay, trapezius medially and sternomastoid. Okay, sternomastoid in the lateral part. Okay, sternomastoid here. Similarly on this bone, these are the highest nuchal line. Okay, here you are having the attachment of the epicranial aponeurosis and here you are having the attachment of the occipital belly of occipito frontalis, and these are the superior nuchal line, well defined line. So here you are having the attachment of the trapezius medially and sternomastoid laterally. Okay, next one, a midline ridge extending from external occipital protuberance to the foramen magnum. Okay, this is known as external occipital crest. Okay, external occipital crest. This gives attachment to ligamentum nuchae. Ligamentum nuchae. Running laterally on each side from the middle of the external occipital crest is another ridge. Okay, another ridge known as the inferior nuchal line. Okay, these are the inferior nuchal lines. There are two muscles attached between superior and inferior nuchal line on both sides. Okay, semispinalis capitis is attached medially and obliquus capitis superior is attached laterally. Okay, similarly there are two muscles attached on each side of midline below the inferior nuchal line. Below the inferior nuchal line, you have the rectus capitis posterior minor medially and rectus capitis posterior major laterally. Similarly on this bone, okay, here this is the superior nuchal line, this is the inferior nuchal line. Here you are having between the superior and inferior nuchal line, you are having the attachment of semispinalis capitis medially and obliquus capitis superior laterally, and below the inferior nuchal lines you will have the attachment of rectus capitis posterior minor medially and rectus capitis posterior major laterally. Now the internal surface of the occipital bone. Okay, this is the internal surface. Okay, its middle is marked by an elevation called internal occipital protuberance. which corresponds with external occipital protuberance on the external surface. 4 grooves diverge from the internal occipital protuberance. 1 upwards, 1 downwards, and 2 laterally. These are the grooves. Okay, grooves. Okay, and these margins of these grooves provides attachment to certain structures. Okay, that is, the margin of this groove, okay, provide attachment to fans cerebri. Margins of this groove provide attachment to tentorium cerebelli, and margins of this groove provide attachment to fans cerebelli. So here you are having the attachment of the fans cerebri. Here you are having the attachment of tentorium cerebelli. Here also tentorium cerebelli, and here you are having the attachment of the fans cerebelli. The groove running upwards is produced by superior sagittal sinus. Okay. The groove running downwards is produced by occipital sinus, and the groove extending laterally is produced by transverse sinus, corresponding transverse sinus. So generally, superior sagittal sinus continue as right transverse sinus, and straight sinus within the tentorium cerebelli is continuous with left transverse sinus. Okay, straight sinus within the tentorium cerebelli is continuous with left transverse sinus. Internal surface is marked by a depression in the midline. Okay, internal surface is marked by a depression in the midline near the posterior margin of the foramen magnum. This depression is the Vermian fossa. It is related to inferior vermis of cerebellum. Okay, this one is related to this fossa. Vermian fossa is related to inferior vermis of cerebellum. Then there is a midline elevation extending from internal occipital protuberance to the posterior margin of the foramen magnum. This is known as internal occipital crest. Okay, the fals cerebelli is also attached to this internal occipital crest. On each side of the internal occipital crest, a halo is created. Okay, a halo is there, a depression is there, that is related to cerebellum. Okay, that is related to cerebellar hemispheres. And internal surface above the grooves for the transverse sinus. Okay, internal surface above the grooves for the transverse sinus. Okay, these grooves, these surfaces are related to posterior lobes, occipital lobes of cerebrum. Okay, these are related to occipital lobes of the cerebrum. That's all for today. Thank you.